Go to Frank in Leeton in country New South Wales. Welcome to the show, Frank.
Thank you, panel. I'm just wondering, looking to buy a house in Port Kembla, Warrawong area. What could you tell me about it? What would be the capital projection in the next 5 to 10 years, please?
Why Port Kembla?
It's very close to the ocean there. It's just a short stroll.
Are you looking at it as a potential residence, vacation property?
Investment, capital gain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, Frank, are you aware of what your neighbours are at Port Kembla and Warrawong there? Do you know that it's the BHP Steelworks with the biggest coke production facility for steel in that area? Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Okay. If you're looking at a lifestyle choice, and if that's the reason why you're buying there, one of the things that probably my friend here, Michael, was trying to tell you politely is that if you're going to be trying to keep away from that area, but what we're trying to say is that Port Kembla has predominantly been an area that has housed the workers of BHP, predominantly, right? Probably 50% of the people that work in around that area, at one stage or another, either them or their family might have worked in connection with that. So that was very heavily reliant on the steelworks for a lot of their infrastructure and potential workforce. While that's been tuned down, the property prices have also been affected accordingly. But they are actually closing down some of the facilities out there. So what we're trying to recommend that you do is, if you're looking at it from a lifestyle point of view, yes, it is close to the beach, but it is, and the water there, but that is where the big oil refinery and the big coal miners turn up. So just give that a bit of thought if you're thinking of a lifestyle point of view of the amount of people going forward that would want to live next to something like that. It's just some food for thought there.
Louise from Newcastle. Louise, what's your question for John and Robert?
Oh, yes, good evening. I'm inquiring about buying an investment property, and I don't know whether to buy it in Sydney or around the Central Coast or Newcastle. And I know that's kind of a pretty sort of up and down question. Like, I'm not really that coherent with markets because I'm not on the internet. I'm sort of technophobic, so I haven't got an internet, so I can't check that sort of thing. And I just thought if you could give me your advice on that, on where would be a better place to buy an investment property. Probably Hornsby, maybe something like that, I don't know.
How do you pick property?
Louise, just a couple of questions for you. What's the comfort factor that you're going to be working from a price point of view? Is there a certain range that you'd be comfortable at?
Probably about 400,000.
Okay. Well, there are some nice units in the Hornsby area that you could probably pick up for probably just a bit less than that. Now, as an investment point of view, there's two things to consider from an investment point of view. One is your demand for the rental property, and if it's solid investment. So Sydney, generally speaking, would probably have the best demand from a rental point of view. And the next thing to look at is the tax deductions. Now, are you working, Louise?
Yes, I am.
When you derive an income from an investment property, that income gets added to your taxable income, but any expenses incurred with that property are legitimate tax deductions, such as your interest and associated costs. But another important factor there would be the depreciation factor. Now, if you bought a property that was built after 1985, you can actually claim the construction costs of that property as a depreciatable allowance against any income that you would have received. So one thing to keep in mind, if it's solid investment property, sometimes newer is better from a tax deduction point of view, and newer might also be better, attracting probably a better tenant. And being in an area where your caption area is a lot greater with more people in there, that might also be better for you. So even though your heart might be saying close to Newcastle because you're in that area, or the Central Coast because it's a lovely place to visit, if you're looking at purely numbers and dollars and figures and cents, probably Sydney would probably be a better option in that scenario.
Just coming back as well to Louise not being on the internet, I mean, is that, I guess, something that she needs to consider when she's looking for properties as well? I mean, is it necessary to have the net? I mean, can you get around it?
Ideal well would be yes, she gets it, but if she hasn't got access to it, if she just probably rings some of the agents in the Hornsby, or even rings the local RAG, whoever the the bugle is, or whoever the advocate is, or whoever it is for that local area, and ask them to forward a copy of the local rag to her for those particular areas. So she can do a house hunting from there, and once she sort of gets the comfort factor of where she's at and what $400,000 buys her, then she can probably make an appointment to go on one particular Saturday and go and see quite a few of them. If she can get a day throughout the week, might be even better, because it's only a couple of hours, not even 2 hours nowadays with the freeway being fixed, coming down from Newcastle down to Hornsby. It's probably about an hour and a half at that. Might be worth the while popping down and having a look once she's pre-arranged all the appointments. 2 tips for both Tracy and our previous caller, Charles. Some of these investors out there... Tracy, are you still on the line?
Hello, Tracy?
Have we still got her?
Yes, she's there.
Are you buying this as as potentially an investment today with a possible lifestyle change or something down the track? Is that the reason for the purchase?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. If that's the case, then we look at it differently. It makes a lot of sense if you're buying it as an investment today with the aim to move into it yourself, because it is a beautiful part of the world. But I agree with what John's saying. If you're solely looking at an investment point of view, there might be other better alternatives out there. But if your aim is ultimately to move down there, and it might become, whether you retire down there or it might become a weekender going forward, it's probably as good as it gets from a structure point of view. So while your tenant's in there, the taxman's helping you pay it off, your wages are going in there also, you can pretty much get stuck into it, reduce it down to as much as you possibly can, and then ultimately when you move into it or move down there, there's no mortgage on there. That's probably the ideal world, Tracy. So if that's your aim, keep it up.